Greater Vancouver is basically boxed in. You've got mountains to the north, the ocean to the west, and the US border to the south. So where does the region grow? Surrey. Surrey actually has almost 3 times the land area of the city of Vancouver, and by 2029, Surrey is expected to pass Vancouver in population. That's just one of the 5 reasons Surrey is about to explode over the next decade. I've lived here over 20 years, and the city being built right now is completely different from the one I moved to. So let me show you what's happening. By around 2029, BC Stats says Surrey will actually pass Vancouver in population and become the largest city in the province. Once you understand what that means for long-term demand, the rest of this video starts to make a lot more sense. Now, as of 2026, Surrey's sitting at over 735,000 people. Between 2021 and 2025 alone, around 100,000 new residents moved in. That's about 3.8% growth every year. And the city of Surrey is already saying the population could hit 1 million by around 2042. That's not some far off projection. That's right inside the timeline of someone who's buying a home today. And just wait until I show you the massive developments happening around here. I'll get to that in just a minute. Now, population growth drives housing demand. More people means more homes needed, more retail, more services, and more infrastructure. When that cycle starts, it feeds itself. I've been watching this play out in Surrey for many years, and this growth isn't just speculation. It's backed by provincial projections, federal immigration, and the simple reality that people priced out of Vancouver still need somewhere to live. And a lot of them are landing in Surrey. Hey, if you're watching this and thinking about buying or selling in Surrey, Langley, or White Rock, reach out to me. I work with buyers and sellers across this market every day, and I can give you a real picture of what's happening right now and what makes sense for your goals. My contact info is in the description below. And if you're curious about what your home might be worth today, there's also a free home valuation tool link down there, and it only takes about 2 minutes. Okay, let's get back to it. All right, so that population story sets the stage, but a city heading towards 1 million people only works if there are jobs for them. Right now, Surrey has more than 24,000 licensed businesses, and other than 2020, that number seems to increase every year. The city also has a pretty ambitious goal: 1 job for every working resident. If Surrey grows to about 1 million people, that means creating between 212,000 to 381,000 new jobs. And the groundwork for that kind of growth is already starting to show up. And keep that in mind, because when we get to the investments later on, it changes how you look at everything we've talked about so far, so stick with me. Now, Surrey is one of the largest manufacturer hubs in all of BC, and it holds the largest share of industrial land in Metro Vancouver. We're talking about 2,500 hectares, and about 29% of the region's vacant industrial land is still right here. That's space to build and expand that the city of Vancouver just doesn't have anymore. And on the innovation side of things, the new SFU Medical School actually starts classes here in August of 2026. And that's the first new medical school in Western Canada in almost 60 years. The Fraser Health Authority is based here, and the Surrey School District is one of the largest school districts in the province. So this isn't just a suburb waiting on Vancouver anymore. The foundation for a self-sustaining city is being built right now. And when you start thinking about long-term property values, you'll see how that shift is really important. Now, population growth and a stronger job market are already powerful on their own, but what really sets Surrey apart over the next decade is the scale of what's being built here right now. About $6 billion. That's what's being spent on just one project under construction in Surrey right now. And the thing is, it's not even the only major one happening. Let's start with the Surrey Langley SkyTrain extension. This is a 16-kilometer elevated expansion of the Expo line running along Fraser Highway. It's going to have 8 new stations from King George all the way down to Langley City Centre. Now, if you've driven that corridor lately, you've already probably seen the guideway columns going up. Completion's expected to be around late 2029. And once that line opens, areas that were completely car dependent suddenly become transit hubs. The conversation about living or investing along Fraser Highway changes in a big way. There's also the new Patello Bridge that connects North Surrey to New Westminster, and that project was finally completed just last month in February of 2026. The old bridge, which was over 90 years old, has been replaced with a modern 4-lane cable-stayed bridge, and it's done. It's open. Connectivity in North Surrey just got a huge upgrade. And Surrey City Centre is also getting a new 10,000-seat arena and entertainment district. This plan includes more than 100,000 square feet of office and commercial space, a hotel, a Galleria-style promenade, all right next to the SkyTrain. Surrey starts shifting from a place people pass through to a place that people actually come to. And when it comes to healthcare, a $2.88 billion fully electric hospital in BC Cancer Centre is already under construction right in Cloverdale. It'll include a 55-space emergency department, 5 operating rooms, and a full cancer treatment center with a target opening around 2030. Now, honestly, healthcare access has been one of the big gaps here, and that gap is finally closing in a pretty major way. And wait till we get to my honest advice about if you should buy in Surrey right now or wait until later. You'll be surprised, but more on that in a few minutes. Now, all this construction you're seeing right now is funded, it's visible, and most of it's arriving before the end of this decade. But there's a geographic advantage Surrey has that makes all this possible in the first place, and it's the piece people don't talk about nearly enough. So the city of Vancouver is basically built out. It's surrounded by the ocean and the Fraser River. There isn't much room left to build the kind of city a growing population actually needs. Surrey is about 316 square kilometers, and Vancouver is around 115. So Surrey is almost 3 times the size. Now that's just not a random geography fact. It's the reason Surrey can actually grow into a city of 1 million people. The land is there, the planning is there, and the infrastructure we just talked about is what activates it. Right now, you can actually see 3 communities changing in a big way. Fleetwood is being redesigned around the incoming SkyTrain stations. Density is increasing, planning is being updated, and the goal is turning it into a full community instead of just a stretch of a suburb. And Clayton is on a similar path, especially along the Fraser Highway corridor where future stations are planned. We also have Guildford. This area has the largest indoor retail center in Surrey, and it's being positioned as a major residential and commercial hub. And if you look at what Burnaby's Metro Town eventually became, you start to get an idea where Guildford could be heading. The city also released the Surrey 2050 plan this February. Now that plan outlines 8 different community hubs across Surrey, with each one getting its own investment, density planning, and infrastructure support. So the city isn't waiting for growth to happen, it's building it ahead of it. But when you step back and look at the big picture, a few things really stand out. Population growth is accelerating. The job market is expanding. Billions of dollars in development are already underway, and Surrey has more land left to grow into than any other city in Metro Vancouver. The real question now is what all of that means if you're thinking about buying or owning a property here today. This is the point where everything we've talked about starts to come together, because right now you can still get into this market at prices that reflect very little of the upgrades that are on the way. The Fraser Valley Real Estate Board released data in February of 2026 showing that benchmark prices in Surrey are down about 7 to 9% year over year across most property types. The Fraser Valley Composite benchmark also dropped below $900,000 for the first time since the spring of 2021. In a lot of segments, especially condos and townhomes, the correction has wiped out most of those pandemic gains that we made. What that means in simple terms is that buying today puts you at pricing that looks a lot like 2021. Now connect that to everything we just walked through. Population pushing towards 1 million, a SkyTrain line opening in 2029, a hospital, a new arena, a medical school, a new bridge, all coming online between now and the end of the decade, and new town centers forming in Fleetwood, Clayton, and Guildford. Meanwhile, you can step into the market today with more inventory available, softer prices, and room to negotiate before those projects fully show up in property values. Now, I'm not calling for some sudden price spike. I actually wouldn't want that. Real long-term growth usually looks slow and steady, supported by real fundamentals. And if you look at the HPI benchmark data over the last decade, Surrey has appreciated quite a bit, even when you factor in the recent correction. Right now, the entry point looks something like this. Condos in North Surrey can start in the low to high 400s, while townhomes often land in the high 700s. Detached homes across most of Surrey are typically in that 1.1 to 1.5 range, with South Surrey being a little bit higher. But the bigger point isn't the exact numbers. It's that you're stepping into the market before a decade of structural growth fully plays out. And you're doing it at corrected prices while major infrastructure is already funded and under construction. Surrey checks all three boxes for thriving opportunities. It has the population growth, land, and infrastructure. And right now, the window to get ahead of that story is still open. If you're thinking about buying in Surrey, Langley, or White Rock before these projects finish rolling out, reach out to me. You can email me at info@moteam.ca today, and I'll put together a personalized breakdown for you. And if you want to go deeper on what's actually being built here, I linked another video here where I walked through Surrey's biggest mega projects. If timing matters to you, that's the video you'll want to watch next. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.